What is up, YouTube? It's Lions Fan Express coming at you with that man-to-man press. And in today's video, I'm going to give you guys my top 5 tight end prospects for the 2024 NFL Draft. Obviously, there's a big name that's going to be leading this group, but there are some really good prospects as a whole when it comes to the tight ends. There's guys that can block. There's guys that can catch the ball. There's guys that can do a little bit of everything. So really excited to get into this. And to start off, I have at number 5, Theo Johnson from Penn State. Little bit of a sleeper here. Some people don't have him as high, but I'm pretty big on intangibles. He's 6'6", 264 pounds. I gave him an 85 grade, which is to me a late third in the tight end grading system. His player comparison is Cade Otton, and his 2023 stats, he had 34 receptions, 341 yards, and 7 touchdowns. Not a lot of receptions and yards, but he's definitely involved in the red zone, and because he had 7 touchdowns. And when I watched his film, the one thing that kind of stood out to me was he is an intangible guy. He's got he's a captain, he's strong in his faith, and he didn't quit on his team by playing in the bowl game. A lot of players opted out of their bowl games. He did not, and I'm really big on that type of stuff. He's got the size and the strength to be a formidable blocker in the run and the pass. He has reliable hands. He just lacks that kind of athletic traits and speed to make him a true difference as a pass catcher. He's kind of an average athlete, and he struggles with separation. When he's running, he's a little stiff, but I think he's a high floor guy. I really do. I think he's got a job in the NFL, but he does have a lower ceiling than some of these other guys. But his blocking skills will get him a job on the field. And at number 4, I have Ben Sinnott from Kansas State. He's 6'4", 245 pounds. I gave him an 87 grade, which is about an early third round. And his player comparison for me is Dawson Knox. In 2023, he had 49 receptions, 676 yards, and 6 touchdowns. Those are actually pretty solid stats for a tight end. He was definitely catching passes throughout the season, making an impact in the pass game. Watching his film, Sinnott is a hybrid between an H-back and a tight end, so sometimes he lines up in that flex position. Other times he can line up with his hand in the dirt, or he can line up out in the slot as well. It just kind of depends, but he's a thick, strong player that demonstrates good body control. He can push vertical, which is huge for a tight end in an NFL system, and he's willing as a blocker. However, while he is a willing blocker, he is not a refined blocker, and he will have to clean that up, specifically his technique, to be a multi-use tight end. He's had issues with focus drops, and he has a habit of getting pressed off the line, halting his routes. So he's got those things to clean up. He can definitely contribute as a pass catcher, but can he do it as a blocker as well? That's the big question. I have him as a early third round pick and a possible sleeper if he gets put in the right system. And then at number 3, a little bit of a shocker too, but I have Ja'Tavion Sanders from Texas. He's 6'4", 243 pounds. I gave him a 92 overall grade, which is about a late first, maybe early second, but still really high, really great grade for a tight end. His player comparison to me is kind of like O.J. Howard. And his 2023 stats, he had 45 receptions, 682 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Now look, I'm just going to be honest. A lot of people have him as the number 2 tight end. And while I really like his film, I really like some things that I saw from a physical, athletic standpoint, there were some other things that I just noticed on tape that it just made me scratch my head. So I'm going to get into that right now. He's got the physical traits you look for in a tight end. He's extremely good at catching the ball. He's got soft hands. He's got the ability to run after the catch and hang on to the ball in traffic. I literally saw this guy take a hit across the middle of the field. He just ate it, and he held onto the ball and got right back up. Well, most guys would probably A, get injured, or B, drop the ball. So he's got the physical traits. He grades out great athletically, but his intangible traits have me concerned. He's an emotional player, which is totally fine. You need guys that are high motor guys that, are loud and get the energy going. But watching his body language after missing a block or making a play and celebrating after every catch, it just again, high motor guy, that's fine. But it just makes me pause and wonder what kind of teammate he really is. Not saying he's a bad teammate, but it just seems like when something doesn't go right, he's quick to kind of throw his hands up and he just doesn't demonstrate good body posture and body language is what I'm picking up on. But I think that's easily fixed. I think you can definitely coach that. And I think he'd be more than willing to obviously work on that at the NFL level. I think you can make a case for him being the second most talented tight end this year and a late first round pick or early day 2, depending on the team. But his average blocking and mild field behavior concerns knock him down to number 3. And at number 2, I have Cade Stover from Ohio State. He's 6'4", 251 pounds. He earned a 93 grade, which is a late first. And his player comparison for me is Jeremy Ruckert, who was an Ohio State tight end a couple years ago. Very similar play styles. We're in the same system, same build. So yeah, he in 2023 he had 41 receptions, 576 yards, and 5 touchdowns. And the thing with Cade Stover is he's a reliable tight end. That stands out on film right away is that he's got excellent skills as a blocker and as a pass catcher. He has the size, he's got soft hands, and he brings versatility to an offense. He was a multi-year captain. He grew up on a farm, so he's farmer tough, and he tried to play in the bowl game with a banged up knee. How many guys would play in a bowl game or sitting out other bowl games, getting ready for the draft, and this guy's got a banged up knee, but he's trying, and I think he actually did end up playing in the game, which is just, it's unheard of. A lot of guys would just be like, all right, I'm just going to, rest and get ready for the draft, but not Cade. So that speaks volumes on his character. His speed, honestly, is average, so don't expect him to break any big plays, and he could learn to separate more on his routes. But overall, I really like Cade Stover, and honestly, when it comes to just pure athletic standpoint, he is not the number 2 tight end in this class, but based on his intangibles, based on the things that I see as a captain, as someone that, is just who plays the game the right way, he is my number 2 option behind Brock Bowers. And of course, I already kind of said it, but number 1, no surprise here, it's Brock Bowers, hands down. It's not even close. He's from Georgia. He's 6'4", 240 pounds. He earned a 95 grade, which is, to me, it's an early first. He's definitely going to go in the top 10. And his player comparison, honestly, I have him as George Kittle. I think that they play very similar styles, and they're both utilized in very similar ways in an offense. And in 2023, he had 56 receptions, 714 yards, and 6 touchdowns. Pretty solid stat line there. And watching his tape, Brock Bowers is special. He's a multi-purpose tight end that can catch passes and has the physicality to be a valuable blocker in the run game. He's an incredible athlete, and he's tough to bring down after the catch, and he was a leader on and off the field. I suspect he's going to test incredibly well at the combine because he's got insane athleticism for a tight end. Some mild concerns that I have after watching his game is he might have average arm length, Doesn't seem like he gets very, high extension with his blocks or when he's reaching out for a pass. His blocks also, he can have a high pad level at times, and he could polish up on his route running. Sometimes he gets a little, a little stiff there. But all in all, Bowers is the best overall tight end prospect coming out of college I've seen in years. And while the value for tight end is not always high, any team that picks Bowers is getting an offensive weapon and an extra offensive lineman in one player. He's a top 10 pick in my books, and don't be surprised, when you hear his name being called earlier than not. So those are my top 5 tight ends. Some guys might be a little higher than what you expect. I might have some guys lower than what you expect, but overall, these are really good tight end prospects. And of course, there is also an honorable mention as well. Wanted to shout out Dallin Holker from CSU. He didn't make the cut, unfortunately, but he's also a pretty solid guy. And also Jared Wiley from TCU. And then Jaheim Bell from Florida State. Athletically, Jaheim Bell might be one of the most athletic tight ends in this class. However, it's really hard to grade him because I didn't know if I should grade him as a tight end or as a receiver, because his skill set to me screams receiver the way he was utilized, but he's listed as a tight end. So I kind of was just like, all right, I'm going to put you in your own separate category and let you be an athlete and let you go make plays. But those are my top 5 tight ends. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. And as always, stay hungry, fans.